Our next speaker is Doug Matsuoka from Hawaii Guerrilla Video Hui. Okay, and that sounds really different, but welcome, Doug.
Aloha. My name is Doug Matsuoka. I have a little group called the Hawaii Guerrilla Video Hui. What we do is we try and document what's happening in the world on the street using a cell phone mostly, you know, the video cam, live streaming using that. Let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm kind of like what I appear to be. I'm an old Japanese boy from Makiki, you know, from some would say middle-class background, some would say petty bourgeois. I like that description because it shows where you are in relation to the production of value. But I don't think they teach that stuff anymore, do they? They don't, anyway. Now, a few years ago, you know, I've been documenting especially the homeless and houseless, and I'll tell you how I got into that. But a few years ago, if a homeless guy walked up to me and he said, you know what, these cops came out of nowhere, they took my tent, they took my clothes, a cooler of food, and they took 3 of my friends away. We weren't doing anything. I would have said, hey, bro, whatever the case may be. I would have said, stop. You know, I'm hearing only half of the story. You were doing something. You had stolen property on you. You were doing drugs. Your friends were, you know, high or something. You know, I wouldn't have believed the guy. Now, if a homeless guy walks up to me and said, you know, these bunch of cops came out from nowhere. They took my stuff, my food, medication, ID. I'd say, stop. Save your breath. I believe you because I've seen it. Not only that, I got the video. I got the video of that. And what people say, there are 2 things people say when you tell them you got the video. One is that, you know what, you ought to take those guys to court and sue them. And the second thing is you ought to tell the ACLU. And I want to give the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, a little bit of slack. But, you know, I think what we think is that whenever there's injustice, what we do is we call the ACLU and they fall out of the sky and they save the situation. They're a little law office. You know, they make money from attorney fees that they can get from cases they win and stuff. Maybe they can do stuff better. I heard a lot of criticism of them, but I want to give them a little bit of slack in this particular context. The other thing people say is you ought to take them to court, you know, and sue them. You know, because we're protected. We're protected by that. There's a paper with a lot of words on it, the Constitution. And it guarantees us certain things. First Amendment, freedom of speech and peaceable assembly. Fourth Amendment, protection against unreasonable search and seizure. Fifth Amendment, protection, guarantee of due process. 14th Amendment, guarantee to equal justice under law. It's so big, the Supreme Court has it engraved in stone, equal justice under law. You know, it's really important. The Hawaii Constitution reiterates this and adds the Kanawai Mamalahoi, the first law that was proclaimed by King Kamehameha that protects people lying by the roadside. It protects the humble. So we should take it to court. Let me tell you a court story, okay? Now, a couple years ago, April 29, 2012, you know, I've been following the De-Occupy Honolulu encampment. They were there for 2 years in the corner of Ward and Beretania. I lived right up the street, so it was really handy. And I also had kind of a political affinity with what was going on there. And there's an activist connected with that corner, Laulani Teal. I think some of you know her. And so one Sunday I went down on April 29, and you know, we always have a gathering and food and play music, stuff like that. And there was this guy, Raul Gonzalez. He was making this painting, that painting right there, in fact, Kanawai Mamalahoi. He's a muralist from Los Angeles, and he was painting this in solidarity with the indigenous people and to help support the De-Occupy Honolulu corner. And it was really great, so we watch him paint it, and people are, you know, eating and playing music. And what we were going to do is we were going to display this on our May 1st. We were having an event there. At that time, the law was Bill 54, and that required, it was against storing property on the sidewalk. Actually, it was against homeless people, it was against demonstrators, but they said it was against storing property. So what they do is they tag your stuff like a tent, and then they'd come back 24 hours later. If it was still there, they could seize it. Of course, what we did was we always they'd tag it and we'd put new tents down, swap it out. This time was a little bit different. We had that mural and two other really large murals, two by Michael Daly. One that was really beautiful. It had Omau Ke'e Okainai Kapono on it. And what we did is we erected a tent, and then we put the art material in there so we could use it on the first. And actually, there's someone here that helped erect the tent. I don't have my glasses on. Well, what happened next morning, the police came out of nowhere. They targeted that tent where we had the banners, and they seized the banner and took it away. So obviously, this is an obvious violation of the First Amendment, those words, freedom of speech. They violated the law. It was theft. They're stealing our stuff. Well, we're kind of upset about this. So Laulani, she always helps her mom on May 1st because the mayor has this special event, Kapiolani Park. And so it happened that since the mayor's going to be there, we're going to have a little talk with the mayor. Because his people took our stuff, right? So I was live streaming the video, and we followed Laulani, and we had a group of people, had me, and we had a couple of Japanese people, a couple of Haole people, it was Keli Iwai and his malo. It was really a good-looking, very diverse bunch of people, very photogenic. There's a video of it. And we found the mayor, because he's sitting in front, he's shaking hands with all his supporters and stuff like that. When we tried to get close, we had a couple of policemen come up to us and stop us. And to make a long story short, Laulani was arrested, disorderly conduct. But you know what? I got the video. I can show she's not guilty. I can show the testimony of what the police said was completely false. I got the video. So we're going to go to court. This is going to be great. We go to court, we show the video, and guilty. So, the cops in the courts and the pala, the ink on this stuff, it's not for you guys, really. Was that a time thing? I can't say. Okay. I could mention Midori's story, but I won't. So really, what can you do now? Oh, you know what? You could talk to the guys that make the laws. Why don't you talk to your councilman? I'll tell you something. There are a couple new laws that just passed that the mayor drafted, he himself drafted, Bills 42 and 45, to help create more prisoners for the prison industrial complex. These bills make it illegal to sit or lie down, total violation of the Kanawai Mamalahoi in Waikiki. Penalty up to $1,000 and 30 days in jail. It's going to put more people in jail. And anyway, to get to the end of my part of the deal, a few years ago, if you asked me what was important, I would have said, well, I used to talk like Ned Flanders, too. We have to do something, to help prevent the country from sinking into this fascist police state. I think is what I would have said a few years ago. Now, I think it's a lot later in the day. You know what I mean? You have the police, the courts, everybody's on the other side of us, regular people. And we ought to think about how to bust out, torches and pitchforks. So this is my torch. We ought to start thinking about the pitchforks. Thank you.